Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Coach Matt, EliteThrowsCoaching.com, and in today's video we are going to be taking a deep dive talking about the role and positions of what's going on with your non-throwing arm. For a right-handed thrower, your left arm. For a left-handed thrower, your right arm. What is going on with the non-throwing arm in the discus and the rotational shot? Okay, so first things first, the non-throwing arm. Why is the non-throwing arm so important? Well, first thing is, it's a lever. It is a long piece of equipment that's hanging off the end of your shoulder. And this lever is going to provide speed and going to provide leverage in your throw. The second reason why this left arm is so important is because it is weight. It is additional weight. I actually, like a crazy person a couple of years ago, looked up how much the average human arm weighed on Google, and it weighed something like 12 to 14 pounds. So not only is this leverage, not only does this long lever help you with your balance and help you with coordination and help to speed up the throw, but it's also weight. It's an additional 12, 14 pounds or whatever it is that you can use in your throw and use in your power position to help you stay more balanced and to get you into just a better overall position in your throw to get you to throw the implement that much farther. Now, if you go back under the channel here, I'm going to put a link right up above. If you go back in this channel, you're going to find a video that I did talking about stopping yourself or not falling into the circle. And this is what I see a lot with my throwers, is that when they're in the back of the circle here, whether it's discus or shot, instead of using this long non-throwing arm, in this case my left arm, instead of using that left arm to get more weight and to shift their weight and balance better on their left foot, a lot of times what we see is athletes will keep this arm short. They'll keep their weight centered in between their feet, and they'll actually fall into the circle. They're kind of trip and fall into the circle instead of being better balanced. So we already talked about that in that previous video. Many times in all of our power position videos, we always talk about keeping the non-throwing arm back. So when we get into the power position, we want our non-throwing arm, again, in this case as a righty, my left arm is back, my eyes are back, my head is back, my shoulders are square, my shoulders are back, and everything is on top of and over my power leg, my right leg. The toe, the knee, and the hip are all facing over here toward 9 o'clock. And as soon as the blocking foot touches down, once the blocking foot touches down, that's when we can start to open, that's when we can start to turn, and that's when we can start to go into the release portion of our throw. So the left arm, we've already talked about what we are doing with that left arm in the back of the circle. Okay, go back and check out that video. Again, click that little white information, that little eye icon up there if you want to check that out. And we already know more weight behind so we're not open at the end of the throw. The other spot that we have to talk about the left arm is going to be the whole rest of the throw. So turning out of the back, we talked about. But what about driving through that circle? What about when we get to the middle? What about the mirror turn position? What about getting into the power position? What is the left arm doing, and how can the left arm help or hurt our throw if we're not using it correctly? Let's start with what I feel is a little bit easier of a way to explain, which is how the left arm can actually hurt us as we're going through either the rotational shot or the discus. We already talked about in the back, if we don't use that left arm, if we keep this left arm short and we don't actually reach and help our weight get over our pivoting foot, our left foot, if we don't use the left arm, we trip and fall in the circle. But there's a lot of other ways that you can use the left arm and actually hurt your distance and actually hurt your technique by using it incorrectly. One of the biggest ways I see it used incorrectly is what I call kind of that Frankenstein position, where you have athletes in the back of the circle. Well, they'll wind up, which is totally fine. If you want to wind up, go ahead and wind up. They'll wind up in the back, and then they keep their arm here, like Frankenstein trying to chase after villagers. They keep their arm here, and it's here for the entire throw. So when they pivot out of the back, it's here. As they drive through the circle, they're here, and then they're here, and then they're here. And they've got this frozen Frankenstein arm. There's never any opening of the arm. Their armpit stays closed, and it's here in front of them. Okay, the other way that we talked about in a video just the other day, one of the video analysis that I put up on the YouTube channel just a day or two ago, where we had somebody who was actually sneezing into their elbow. So they did their throw. Their whole throw was like this, turning out of the back. Everything was here. As they're going through their throw, they're covering their face. It looks like they're sneezing into their elbow, okay? Sometimes you see the left arm, they'll try to use the left arm, but instead of using that left arm and keeping it parallel to the ground or more of a 90-degree angle at the armpit, we see they use that left arm and they're down here and it pulls them down into the circle. So they're turning and they're kind of pulling their head down, and this left arm is throwing them down. So there's a lot of ways that the left arm is actually going to hurt you in the throw and take away distance. The big place where we have to watch in the middle of the circle is right when we get into sort of the mirror turn, half turn position. When we get into this position, a lot of times we see athletes will actually stop their left arm. Now I'm going to demonstrate the correct way of doing this in a few minutes. But you want to watch this left arm, because a lot of times what will happen is athletes will drive out of the back of the circle, okay? As they're driving out of the back of the circle, they take this left arm and they use the left arm, which is great. They're using the left arm to get more speed, more power, more kind of whip through that circle, okay? More pop through the circle, but then they stop the left arm in the middle. So they're using that left arm. They use the left arm out of the back. They use that left arm to get through the circle, and then they kind of stop it and they wrap it around themselves like they're giving themselves a hug. And then their power position looks like this, or the discus, it looks like this. A lot of times, instead of wrapping it around themselves, they actually stop and they point it down the throwing area. So they'll use it out of the back, it'll look really good. They'll use it through the middle, it'll look really good, and then they'll point this way. And now all of their body weight, everything's going here because they're trying to stop. The other way I see it is where they take that arm and they throw it up in the air. And this is going to mess up the end of the throw. So they'll use it really well out of the back. They'll use it in the middle, and then they throw this arm way up in the air as they come through the middle. The arm is up here, they've got the shot, and now all of a sudden, they're kind of doing that sneezing in the elbow thing. Well, now they're going to go down into their power position instead of up into their release. So the left arm, if it's not used correctly, or if it's used incorrectly, is going to mess up your throw pretty bad. So that's some of the most common ways where I see the left arm being used incorrectly. Now that you've seen that, maybe you're thinking of athletes that you've coached in the past. Maybe if you are an athlete and you're watching this, you're going back through some old videos that your teammates took during practice on your phone, and you're seeing that you do this. Well, let's talk about what that left arm is actually supposed to look like as you go through your throw. Now let's talk about how to actually use the left arm correctly and what positions your left arm should be in, where it should be pointing as you get to certain parts of the throw. So from this point forward, I want you to think of me going through this throw just like you were watching a slow motion video of one of your athletes outside of practice. So you're going to be able to go kind of frame by frame of that slow motion video of your athletes at practice, and in every single part of that throw, you're going to be able to look for these certain characteristics and these certain positions as sort of frames of their full throw. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically, if you were to go frame by frame and pause it, there's going to be a position where it looks like this, where they're winding up. When they're turning in, they're winding up. You can pause right here and see that. And then as they go to shift weight onto their left and they're using that left arm, you should be able to see that. So that's what I want you to think of, is hitting pause, hitting that pause button at certain parts of this throw. Okay, so the first part where you want to hit pause is going to be as they're coming out of the back of the circle, as they've already wound up and now they're starting to unwind. Where you want to pause that is right here. When the athlete is just about to lift their right foot up off the ground, you want to pause, and what you want to see is that the arm is long. You want to see that their sternum is over the foot. Their weight has shifted over the foot so they can pick up their right foot. But you also want to see is that the arm is just outside of their knee. So we don't want to see the arm like this inside their knee. If my knee is pointing over here towards 9 o'clock, I don't want my arm in here pointing towards 10 or 11 o'clock, and I certainly don't want it back here at 12. I want that arm just outside of my left knee. And what you're going to notice as we go through this throw is there is about a kind of a, I guess if you want to call it like a 3-hour difference in where the sternum is pointing and where the left arm is pointing. So think of it just like Iron Man from all the Marvel movies. Iron Man has that little glowing light energy source right there on his chest. In the back of the circle, that's pointing at 12. My left arm is at 9. Okay? So chest is at 12. I've opened my armpit. Now, chest is at 12. Left arm is at 9. Then we pivot out of the back of the circle. Pivot out of the back. Chest is at 9. Left arm is at 6. Okay? Then as we drive through the circle, we're here. Chest is at 6, left arm is at 3. So pretty self-explanatory. One is facing one way, the other is facing 90 degrees the other way. 12 to 9, 9 to 6, 6 to 3. Pretty simple. That position right there, 6 to 3, is where a lot of people kind of mess up, is where a lot of people start to overdo, kind of over-season the sauce, over-egg the pudding, because that's where the left arm, they start to hug, they start to wrap, they start to point, they start to sneeze into their elbow, they do all that crazy stuff that we just talked about a few minutes ago, okay? But in reality, that left arm is going to keep going, okay? So when you land here, you've got the chest going down towards 6 o'clock. Left arm is toward 9. Now at this point, your left arm is not going to bend. Your left arm is not going to wrap. Your left arm is not going to go up in the air or drop down by your butt. It's going to stay straight, but your body is going to turn. Now, as your body turns, it's going to turn into your left arm. You're not going to stop your left arm or wrap or pull your left arm back. That's going to slow you down. We don't want to slow yourself down. We want to turn your chest into the arm. So the arm is going to keep moving. The arm is not going to stop. The arm is going to keep moving. Your body is just going to move faster. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really hard to show, but you've got to think of it like we're doing a frame-by-frame slow motion analysis. So let's go through it again. We're here with the shot or with the discus. We're going to wrap up. Chest is at 12. Arm is at 9. Boom. Okay, we're open. Weight is shifted. Chest is at 9, arm is at 6. Okay? Here we go. Now, chest is going to go down to 6. Arm is going to be at 3. Now, at this point, I'm not going to stop. At this point, I'm going to continue moving that left arm. The left arm's going to go. My chest is just going to go faster. So I'm not stopping the left. The left continues to go. It's that my body just goes that much faster. Okay? What I'm going to do is put the camera on this side and do a South African out of the back of the circle so you can see in slow motion that my arm doesn't stop. My arm never pauses in one position. My arm never wraps. My arm never bends. My arm continues moving. It's just that my upper body and my lower body are moving faster and they are catching up in that power position. So instead of being here in the power position, now you are here in the power position. Because does that make sense? If my chest is facing 12, shouldn't my arm already be at 9? No, we want that arm back until this left foot touches. Once the left foot touches, then you go. But you can't go and then touch the left foot. So that's where all the mistakes are occurring. People are stopping their left. When you're not stopping the left, you're not slowing down your left. You're not wrapping your left. Okay? What you're doing is moving your upper body that much faster so it catches up with your left. I hope that makes sense. All right, now go back and watch that a bunch of times. It's already in slow motion, but here on YouTube, if you click the settings button, the little, I think it's still 3 dots, or maybe it's the little gear kind of looking icon right here on the screen, you can slow that down to actually quarter speed. So you can actually slow it down to a 1/4 of what that slow motion just was. And what you should see is a couple of things. The first thing that you're going to see is that when my right foot touched down in the middle, my arm was kind of pointing over here toward the camera. We were kind of over toward 3 o'clock. But as my right foot touched down, at no point did my left arm stop and wrap. My left arm didn't wrap. My left arm didn't stop or do anything like that. My left arm kept going around. The left arm kept going, kept going, kept going. It's just that my left foot coming through and turning of this right foot in the middle was faster. So as this was coming around slow, you can see my left foot came through and everything else sped up. So the left arm was going to continue going into that power position. There would have eventually been grounding and then opening at the same time, grounding, opening, boom, turning, closing that right knee, and then pushing into the throw. So when we're going through the rotational techniques, whether it's rotational shot or discus, you never want to stop the left arm. You never want to wrap the left arm or squeeze into your elbow or do anything where we're pausing or reaching. Just think about it this way. Here's an even easier way to explain it. As a right-handed thrower, I'm going through that circle counterclockwise. I'm pivoting counterclockwise. I'm going around counterclockwise. If my left arm and my body are continuously going counterclockwise, why at any point in that throw, as I'm moving counterclockwise, would I want to take my arm and start moving it the other direction? If I want the most amount of speed in this throw as possible, I want everything to continue going counterclockwise. Correct? Why then would I go here and stop? Why would I come here and start wrapping? My arm is going this way. Why would I change direction and move my arm back this way? Doesn't make sense. So again, we are really not stopping that left arm. The left arm continues going through the middle of that circle so that we can use that smoothness and use that speed and put that into the finish of our throw. We never want to stop the left arm. It's just that our body accelerates that much faster that it's a little bit of an optical illusion where we're thinking that we're stopping the left, but in reality, the rest of our body is just moving so much faster that it makes the arm look like it's stopping, or it makes the arm look like it's slowing down. We always want that left arm to continue moving around so that we can use that left arm, use that lever, use that 12 to 14 pounds, whatever it is, and actually use that as we finish our throw. So hopefully this helps you out. I know it was a long video. Like I said, it's going to be a very deep dive. If you guys want, I'm going to put a link where we went through a deep dive of what the power foot does, the right foot does in the middle of the circle. I'll put a link for that right at the very end of this video. But in the meantime, if you have any other questions, if you guys have any comments, any concerns, please leave them in the comment section right down below. Please make sure, guys, also to check out our overnight camps and clinics that are going to be happening this June and July. 2 are going to be at Allegheny College in Western PA, and 1 is going to be at St. Mary's in Orchard Lake, Michigan, which is southern Michigan. Not too far from the Columbus area, Detroit, Columbus, that region of the U.S., okay? So make sure to check those out. All of those links are going to be right down below. And again, if there's any questions, any comments, any concerns, any arguments, whatever you have, let's talk about it. Leave it in the comments section right down below. Thank you guys again so much for checking out the video. Stay tuned, and we're going to have more just like this coming out next week.